Alright, yeah, what's up, guys? Welcome to today's video. I'm going to be going over all the decks of that's going to be viable for the upcoming format. I have the criteria listed here as Tier 1, Tier 1.5, Tier 2, Tier 3, and unplayable. These are the criteria I'm looking at. I'm going to be trying to do it based on not only representation, but also power level and how strong I think the deck is. So let's get started with, I think, a deck that basically got untouched on the ban list. The Labyrinth deck. I would say this deck is Tier 1. It's very, very strong. It has access to viruses post side with Eradicator and, you know, deck Devi and all that good stuff. Not only that, like, the Labyrinth deck can also play like the full stun version. So it's just really, really difficult for, you know, a lot of decks to like deal with. Next, we have Kashtira. I think Kashtira is still a very, very good deck. I would put it at a Tier 1.5. Closer to Tier 1, to be honest, because I think the deck is actually still playable, and the deck is still actually really, really strong. Like, yes, it lost Diablosis, but Macrocosmos is still like at a really broken ability, and if they switch strategies to playing like preparations, maybe even multiple preparations, I think this deck still has a really strong guide game and can, you know, still be like a top contender of the next format. Yes, it can't lock 5 anymore, but it still has access to it's one of the decks that has access to one of the most non-engines in the game as well, so it can adapt easily to the format. And Shifter is like very, very powerful tech card that has access to play. We have Dark Worlds, you know, like the hand loop. This deck has never been that good. It's like a hard combo deck. You know, maybe people play Joel again, but if people don't play hand traps, then maybe like the hand loop version could be very, very strong. I'll put it at Tier 2 because, like, realistically, if the format changes to where people play breakers and no hand traps, then the Dark World stuff can like really pop off. But I think a lot of people will play Bestials for like Labyrinth and Striker. So like I think this deck won't be as powerful in my opinion. Fluanderies, I still think it's a Tier 2 strategy. It honestly kind of depends on the format, but if Striker is in the format and Striker is really, really strong, I would put Fluid in like Tier 2. I would typically put it in Tier 1.5, but personally, I would say Tier 2 right now, only because of the fact that Striker with Widow Anchors and stuff really makes it so that Flu has a really, really hard time. Draco Slayer is Tier 2 in my opinion. I think with Draco Face Off coming off the list, not only that, Draco Slayer has been a really strong combo deck. And, you know, with Super Heavy kind of gone, there's also like a Super Heavy slash Draco Slayer combo deck as well. So I honestly think this deck is possible to be like Tier 2 and still strong. I would put Mathmech at Tier 1.5, and the reason why I put this as a very strong contender still for the metagame is because with triple mining, triple small world, as well as the firewall package and the spirit package, the deck will still access circular the majority of the time. Just don't let Joshua see this, but I would say for the majority of the time, like, the deck can still do a lot. It's still very, very strong. It accesses circular almost every single way. So, Mana Dome. I think Mana Dome is actually a sleeper deck of the format. Mainly because I think that before, historically, the format that we just came out of, Mana Dome couldn't really compete because there's so many good one-card combo decks that could be played. If this is pure Scareclaw, then I would put this at Tier 2. Maybe Tier 3, to be honest. But it's just that the effect isn't really that good, to be honest. And like, I'll put it at Tier 3. Pure Scareclaw, Tier 3. But I'll put Mana Dome at like 1.5 to 2, probably. We now have the Leerless Tri-Brigade deck. I would say that's a Tier 2 deck. I think for that deck to be really, really good, you have to kind of pair with Sprite, which you kind of see right here. Like, Sprite Tri-Brigade is still very strong. You know, that was a deck that was really strong in the 250th. But I think the Leerless version is like not bad as well. It can search like DD Crow, and like it can also like end on F0 and a bunch of all that good stuff. So if that's good in the format, then I think this could be kind of nice. Virtual Tier 2, the deck is honestly kind of power crept, and I wouldn't say it's like that strong, but like it might be a good meta call to like combat Striker, and maybe combat Labyrinth, because like a lot of its engine is really, really strong. I think Dragon Link is Tier 1. Dragon Link is Tier 1, to be honest. I think like the Dragon Link is one of those decks that has, over time and time again, has always been a relevant deck. And I think with a Rise Heart and Kashtira maybe not being as popular, then the Dragon Link deck is very, very good. A lot of decks can't even out Borderland. It has a really good grind game. The Bistils are really, really powerful into Striker, into Labyrinth. So I think, and Seal Pass is still like really, really powerful, surprisingly. Elish, tier 3, to be honest. It's just worse Labyrinth. Don't play this, please. Ninja, unplayable. Do not play that deck. It's literally unplayable. Now, Plunder is a very interesting one. Plunder is very interesting. I think Plunder could actually be kind of clean. And I say this because it has access to the right engine, which is very, very strong. The Link 2 can like dodge a lot of interruptions, like hand traps, really easily. Like it can dodge like Widow Anchors really well. Plunder is really, really good into like outing back row because it has access to like the fire ship. And with Jord, I think Plunder could actually be kind of nice, like locking people with Warlords. I actually think Plunder is a really strong option. Like I actually like if I play against Plunder, like it's a deck that I'm like definitely scared of. Like I think it's a good deck. I think Pearly going second is like tier 1.5. Like it's actually very, very strong. It just struggles like going first, but I think if you play go second Pearly, and just try to like break apart boards, just rip them apart, I think Pearly is really, really strong in that. So very strong going second deck in my opinion right now. Trap Trick I would say is tier 2. Trap Tricks had an advantage where because its best matchup was Kashtira, but because Kashtira isn't as strong anymore, I'll still leave this at like tier 2-ish, to be honest. Sprite Runic, I think this is gonna be one of the best decks of the format. It was really, really strong before the ban list, like in the 250th format. So I would say that like Sprite Runic is gonna be tier 1. It literally ignores hand traps. You can't really use board breakers to beat it because you have access to like runic cards as well. So like the fact that it's like very diverse in its interruptions, having cards in hand for like runic cards, having on-field presence with, you know, sprite cards, and even having back row presence with like starter and smasher makes this a very threatening deck for the upcoming format. You have Mekanko, Brave. I would say this is tier 2. I actually tested a bunch of this deck. It's like a 60 card base pile. This deck actually did really well in the OCG recently, and it's definitely something for us to look more into for sure. Honestly, Rika Sun Avalon, I think tier 1.5. This deck is actually scary. It didn't get touched at all. It's a very, very strong deck when it goes first. It's like literally makes unbreakable boards because like it tributes your monsters for cost and you can't do anything. So I actually think this deck can be very, very clean, to be honest, and like. The combo is very powerful, and on like, you know, the full Regulus combo with Rika Sheet and Con. You know, it's just like really, really good. I actually do think this is nice. Runic Notaria is I think tier 1.5. You could try it with the Shizu package, milling 5 cards, using the shufflers to recycle with the tree. But I honestly think it's like tier 2, to be honest. It's like the Runic engine makes it 1.5 by itself because I think Runic is a very powerful engine. But yeah. Sorso, I think is tier 1.5. Tier 1.5 mainly because it's just like one of the it's one of those decks like Sprite. Time over time again, it's just randomly insane. And the deck has a lot of room for non-engine to play tactics, to play like thrust, all that good stuff. So it's very, very good in my opinion. This is tier. I think tier is 1.5. I think the tier limit deck with Ishizu, even with all the names at 1, is actually tier 1.5 because without a Rise Heart being as popular, I think the tier engine is actually very strong right now. With like, you know, you play like King of the Swamp, you play like Garden Chimera, you know, you play like all the Millers, you know, you play like triple Sulliek, you play like a triple tier cash with you play the Shadal package to get access to Winda to get draws. I actually genuinely think that the tier deck is actually insane right now. It can break through a lot of boards. Punk Gold Pride. I think this is one of the better combo decks of the format. No one's really going to be main decking Nib because Striker and Labyrinth are in the format. So the Punk deck can actually go full combo. I think the Punk deck, Gold Pride deck, when it goes full combos, makes an unbreakable board. Like, you actually cannot beat it. And Psychic and Punisher is unoutable when you do that. You go to like 3,000 life points. And so I actually think Punk Gold Pride is actually insane. Sprite You have Sprite, the Sprite Melfi deck. I think is tier 1.5. I don't think it's as strong as Sprite Runic, but the Penny version, the Melfi version is still very, very strong. Runic Furhire, I would put it at tier 1 as well. Mainly because the Furhire engine is very, very strong. It's like I'm talking about like Runic Furhire Sprite, like the Dinka list, the Dinka Bui list. I would put it on the same power level as Runic Sprite. Very, very sure. Very, very good. Like you draw way too many cards. Like you're literally like getting outgrinded into oblivion. You have Sprite Life Twin. I would put this in the same power level as Sprite Melfi, to be honest, but a little bit worse because I think the Melfi engine is stronger. Salmon Great unplayable. Do not play that. Strike Striker tier 1. I know it's like weird, but like I think Striker's tier 1 mainly because it has typically an even matchup into like everything, and it's a very like it's an even deck. Like it'll go even with every deck. Like if you don't know what to play, you just play this. You know what I'm saying? Like if you don't know what to play, you just play like Striker. It's good as everything. Like it's like decent as everything. You never like have a bad matchup per se. You just like you go even against everything. Like yeah, engage was the 5. People don't realize thrust is like absurd. Thrust is actually absurd. Like I think Striker is really, really good. It's just that a lot of people make Striker look really, really bad. Does that make sense? And if you look at my tier list, you see why the format is kind of annoying. Because there's so many decks in tier 1 and tier 1.5. Like, it's actually foul. Like, I think tier 1.5 is like decks that aren't like on the same power level as tier 1. But like, they're still very viable. Like, if you play against these decks, you have to be afraid. I think Super Heavy is tier 2. It's way more fragile now. But it's like decent. Mana Dome, I would say 1.5. And the reason why I say Mana Dome is tier 1.5 is because Mana Dome was very weak last format because of all the decks prevalent. But because a lot of decks got weaker, the Mana Dome deck I think is way more stronger now. And it searches the counter trap. So if people play Dark Ruler and stuff like that, it has outs to Dark Ruler while maintaining a really big board presence. So I like the fact that the in-engine can search the Solemn Judgment. Branded tier 1, I think. I maybe tier 1.5 with tier 1. Like, I don't know. I think Brandon's like very strong. Brandon's gonna be really strong only because like the deck is still very like if your opponent resolves Brandon Fusion, even if they don't puppet lock you, they still make a really good board. You know what I'm saying? Like yes, they might not puppet lock. Let's say they don't puppet lock you. The board they make is still very annoying, and their grind game is ridiculous. They have like one of the most ridiculous grind game in the game. So, you know, that's something to concern. Dinos, I tested the Dino cards, the new ones that are coming out. I think it's like tier 2, maybe tier 3. It's like not that good in my opinion. The Novellas deck I didn't test yet, so I don't know where to put it. So I'm putting it at tier 2 for now. I think Vanquish Soul is a tier 2 deck as well. It has a lot of good potential for the future. It might get more support, and I think as a result, it might become strong again. Exorcister is tier 2. I think it has consistency issues, but it's still a strong deck. Spiral, unplayable. Constellar is tier 3, to be honest. Not bad. This deck is like tier 3, and then Diatron's tier 3 as well. But I would say this is where we're at format-wise. We have Lab, Cash, that I think is still very, very good. Dragon Link is still very good. Runic Sprite is so good. Furhire Runic is so good. Striker is good. And all the tier 1.5 decks are basically what decks I consider tier 1, to be honest. But like they're not at the same power level right now. So that's pretty much my Banlist take, guys, on my tier list and what I think the format will shape to be. Let me know what you think and where you think certain decks belong. And let me know in the comment section below. Alright guys, I'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.